Hello, 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 Crossroads Witches and other interesting magical folks. As you can tell, we've got another talking head video. This wonderful evening, I have Nazira joining me, and then from across the pond, I have Scorpia, Queen of the Occult. She is joining us tonight. We have our topic. We're talking about witches are typically above average intelligence. They're fairly smart folks. That I think a lot of folks sort of are yes, they understand it, but at the same time, you don't understand that it is very common to be sitting in a circle with people who have masters, doctors, you know. We have a lot of higher education degrees. And then we also have a lot of folks which are just damn well read and smart.
And intuitively smart too.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not book smart, but I'm good at reading people. I'm good at feeling the energy. So I have a different realm of smart, but I'm not book smart.
A different form of reading. You can read the room rather than a book.
Right, that's very important. But what I found, like in 40 years of really with the community, that witches typically, they're smart folk. Like you said, different types of smart, where some are quite book smart and the others have a bit of common sense to them. But I think that sort of surprises folks when they find out that, you know, quite a few of us, you know, have advanced degrees. You know, you have a doctoral in something, and at the same time, you're calling yourself a witch. You know, I often joke with people because, like, Papa Nico, Haitian voodoo priest, has a bachelor's in business economics.
I have a degree, theater arts, BS.
But it's actually quite common. Many of our conjuring, our hoogans, our mamas, our papas, you're dealing with an intelligent person. All right. Magic isn't about suspending belief. It's about leaning into the belief.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I was going to say, historically, we were known as the cunning folk. We'd be the people that they would come to that would have like knowledge of the land, or if they needed herbal remedies, or if they wanted a certain working, or they wanted to encourage certain aspects of their life, or they wanted weather predictions of whether the crops were going to grow, or they would do blessings on the land, or they would know how to work with the cycles of the seasons. And that aspect of things, which I think is pretty interesting, at how we've grown from old day society into modern day society, how we have witches working within the medical industry with pharmaceuticals and everything else, how that just kind of grew with society as we've grown. And it's great the fact that we do have witches in modern day life still working in those departments that are helping people every day, both metaphysically and physically.
I would say that what I've noticed is that a high amount of, and this is just my personal observations, a high amount of witches are in medical professions.
I was going to say that, yep.
And they're in teaching professions. Your
in biology
teacher, the nice nurse.
Right?
Yeah. I've really noticed that those seem to be the two professions that keep coming up, you know, and it makes sense if you think about, you know, the nature of the witch, that you would go to a healing profession, or that you would go to a passing forward of knowledge profession.
Like an herbalist too, like a botanist.
Mm-hmm.
Biology people also.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Whereas I'm more of the creative. I know that we have a lot of creatives within the magical community as well, with the various different forms of talents that show in visual representation, as well as logical, as well as intellect in regards to the brain, how it translates in a different format.
I think a lot of times we think of the artistic folk as they potentially can be the witch. We don't think of the fact that our third grade teacher was.
That's true.
Right.
All right. Because you're right. I would say the other side, the other most common profession I found is something of artistic endeavors. I love the fact that you bring up the idea when we talk about, I make the statement, I think that witches are really intelligent, that there's different types of intelligence. Academic intelligence does not just make you, just because I read lots of books, but it's the intuitive intelligence, the spiritual, the magical intelligence, where you're just in tune. I think that one of the common things I hear is from witches is that as kids, we like went out in our backyard and put together something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think we still do that now, just in more of a different format.
More mindful. We're like, yeah, that's why I'm sprinkling this, you know. Is that witches do have this level of practical to them. I love in Corey Hutchinson's book, New World Witchery, where he says witches are practical, but not logical. And I laughed and laughed when I read that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. It makes sense to us.
Yeah.
And how important that truly is. And that, you know, we have different flavors. I'm an academic. I love to read a dissertation. All right. Oh yeah, I'll even read legal documents for fun. But that's what that doesn't mean that I'm the smartest witch in the room when I'm sitting next to a witch that is so in tune with themselves. You know what I'm saying? That what they're doing is more power, or just as powerful as any knowledge I have.
Yeah, we can bounce off each other and help turn our weaknesses into strength. For example, you know, if anything, I've started writing a lot more down and doing a little bit more reading since we've become friends. So if I needed to go for a reference, I'd be like, okay, Taren, give me a pointer in the right direction. You'd be like, okay, there's A, B, C. Have a look at that and then come back to me. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And then there'll be other times when we're having conversations and I'll just say something completely out of the blue and you'll be like, I need to write this down. So it's just how we like bounce off each other's energy in that way. I feel like Nazera feels that way too.
I like it, that the fact that you are academic, because I'm not. If I can
Well,
say
I think it's respecting, not feeling like that's what you have to be. And you know, because when we have new witches come to the community, like, oh my God, I got to read all these books, and you're like, no, you don't. I've known many a witch that has barely cracked a book in 2 decades.
And you're a great resource because that's something you love and that you like to do. We all have our good things that we like. We all have our specialties that we are good at. So we reach out to different people within our group, like, oh, this is your thing. You know, what do you think about this? What do you think about this plant? We'll ask somebody who's good with the plants, or the person that's good with the energy healing. We'll ask them.
We all have little niches. I mean,
Yep.
you know, it's some people are cooks and some people are bakers, but we're both still in the kitchen.
Mm.
All right. I know you don't want me to try to bake a pastry.
I could though.
Right. And that's some folks really get it and they can move it. And other folks, that pastry ain't never going to be fluffy and light. And recognizing it, not feeling like you have to, oh my God, she knows all of this. Or if you get around a star witch, one of the, you know, astrology. All right, I'm not a star witch. I have a base working knowledge and I'm smart enough to go sit beside one.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've gone down that and they've spent years honing it and their knowledge is just phenomenal. The same thing as if you sit next to a garden witch. I am so sorry, y'all. As soon as that damn thing goes off.
And that goes back to like what you were saying earlier about we're all very intelligent, and we just have places where we go that's our specialty. Witches tend to have their specialty, and you just call on them or look to them for their specialty.
You find something you vibe on. It's
Yeah.
like you know what your pizza toppings are.
Right?
I like that analogy. That's a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
And you may have to try a couple of different toppings before you get it, but you figure out what your flavor is. And you
Absolutely.
embrace that, and don't let these other flavors intimidate you or feel like, oh, I've got to go learn that. I will never be a star witch, nor do I want to.
I'll never be an academic witch.
Right.
We all have our things that we're good at.
And we balance that out in our own personal crafts, on our own personal connection with divinity, and we also apply that to our everyday life roles. So it kind of works in balance in that way, which is really interesting.
Absolutely.
How it kind of works together as we do as individuals, as well as cohesively as a magical community with many different walks of life.
No one person could learn all of the knowledge within our community.
Oh no, not a chance in hell.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And if you've been in the community a couple of years, you're like, you've really started to understand the depth. And you're like, hell no, no one person, it would take you lifetimes to learn the knowledge.
It's when you have that witch that says that they do know it all, that's when you slowly take a step back and you're like, okay.
Yeah. You know,
Right.
unfortunately, I think some of the people that come in the community, they feel like they need to know it all.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly felt a pressure when I first started. I'll be honest, I'll put my hand up and say I felt like, okay, there is a lot going on here. Where do I start? Where do I begin? I think we've all experienced that, but that comes with time. And as we grow as individuals, as spiritual beings, as human beings, that's when that self-exploration shows, both in our mundane work life and our magical life. It's that continuous cycle of evolution and growth.
I think a good witch is a good student.
I like that. Yeah.
All right. Is that
Curiosity, learning, wanting to explore.
Yeah, you're leaning in, like what we were talking with we did our full moon last night, and we were staying in the state of wonderment, leaning in, being that childlike excitement, you know, and how important it is to have that.
Absolutely.
Because you do, you know, it's very easy to walk into a room of strangers and feel like, oh my God, they all know stuff and I don't. And then really realizing they're just like you, they're trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, and regardless of how long you've been in the magical community, the studies never end. It's until your last dying breath, you're always going to be learning, growing, and evolving. Because, like you said, you can't do it all in one lifetime. Even several lifetimes, you're still going to be growing and evolving. Still there, you know.
Oh, I think so. I definitely believe it's several lifetimes. You know, and you can just enjoy what you have, be in the moment, you know, with it. We're going to go back on topic where this little discussion was about witches are really smart, is that we are in a lot of different ways, and we don't need to compare ourselves to each other.
I think that's probably one of the most important lessons, and something that I'm still learning, because I have my own inner saboteurs, but it's also when you have to bring it back to basics, bringing yourself back to your own roots, coming back to your own truth, and celebrating that while sharing differences and similarities, and feeling comfort in that. And
You're
just,
good enough just the way you are. You ain't got to change nothing, you know. It sounds really easy to say, but to really put it in and feel it,
yes.
Yeah.
you got to work it. Ooh, one sec. Excuse me. Ooh,
Yeah.
I was sneezing earlier today. I got into a fit. I was like, I don't know, like I got in a dust corner or something.
Mm.
And it still tickled my nose. But now that I've sneezed on camera, we're going to end this video. I wanted to keep it a light chit chat, talking about witches are smart. We're all smart in our own different way. All right. It's about you embracing you, your authentic voice. All right. And whatever, you know, you find, whatever subjects, whatever interests you, go there. Don't worry about the other witches. They'll probably appreciate later on when you come back and tell them good stuff. And I want to thank Nazira for joining me on a talking head video again. Please check out our video that we talked about expectations versus reality in the magic community. You can find it on my channel. And of course, Scorpio, Queen of the Occult. I do want to get her back where we can do another fun makeup, because I learned a lot when I did makeup with her.
Me too.
Oh yeah, I was a hoot. We'll have to do it again for sure.
It was a lot of fun. And of course, to all of you witches out there, thank you so much for your support. For all of you that have hit the subscribe, hit the like, and who leave comments on this video and all my other videos, please know it is greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that said, witches, go out there, fly those brooms, have a nice, bright, blessed day. And as always, amen, blessed be, ashe, and a bobo.